Well, hello everybody. It's the last week of our holiday club here in Dunbar, our Holy Histories Holiday Club, and we've been learning about some of the people of the past and the stories of how this church here in Dunbar came to be. I'm stood here on the quay side at the Cromwell Harbour. That's the oldest of our two harbours in Dunbar, and I've been thinking about the people that have come and gone to this town over the years. Last week we were thinking about St Bay, that woman who lived in a cave by the beach, and we were thinking about Spot and the people who made some big mistakes up there in the way they treated other people. So one of the people that arrived in Dunbar, not by boat, not by car, not by train, but by horse, and that was John Wesley. And we're going to learn about John Wesley today with the help of this man, Jeff. And Jeff is from Lancashire, and he's got a beard. John Wesley had neither of those, but our budget couldn't afford us an actor from Lancashire who's clean shaven. But anyway, over to Jeff to tell us the story of John Wesley.
My name is John Wesley, and I'm the founder of the Methodist Church. Not just this one, here in Dunbar, but the whole Methodist Church movement that spans around the world. There's quite a lot of us. An estimated 50 million people are part of the Methodist Church worldwide. It's a bit embarrassing really, but some Methodist churches use my name. They call themselves Wesleyan chapels, like this one here. Before I tell you about the story of Methodism in Dunbar, here's a bit about myself. Well, I was born in Lincolnshire in England in 1703. This was the 18th century, and during my lifetime some pretty big events took place around the world. The American War of Independence, the Jacobite uprising, and just down the road from you, the Battle of Preston Pans. And music makers Handel, Mozart, Beethoven and Bach, well, they were topping the charts with their wonderful music. The French Revolution had just started, and your famous poet, Robbie Burns, was writing his poems. I was one of 10 brothers and sisters. Mum and Dad were good Christian people and brought us up to do all the Christian things, like read the Bible, pray and go to church. I guess like many of you, I've always believed in God. But there have been times where he's felt more real than others. Like the time I was a boy and our house caught fire, with me in it. Thankfully my neighbour rescued me. But truly, I believe it was the Lord himself that plucked me from death. There was a time I was on a boat with some Christians, people called Moravians, and we hit a storm on the way to America. The boat rocked and it swayed in the huge waves and wind. Water poured over the deck, and I was terrified. Before long, the cabins began to fill with water. Most of us were sure we were going to drown, but the Moravian Christian folk remained calm. Instead of getting all upset, they just prayed and trusted God. Well, we survived to tell the tale, but I was really taken by how close to God they were. Seeing those Christians made me realise I knew all about God, but I didn't really know him the way these folk did. I longed to be like them. And not long later, both me and one of my brothers, Charles, were at a church meeting where things changed. It was as if God warmed my heart, and I began a new life with him and experienced God in a new way. After that, I decided to tell everybody about how good God was and about the amazing stories in the Bible. I spent the rest of my life telling others. I travelled all over England, Wales and Ireland. Not by bus, or plane, or trains, or automobiles, but by horseback. They reckon I rode over 250,000 miles. I didn't waste the time though. I got good at reading the Bible as I rode along. Occasionally, yes, I was too focused on the Bible and did fall off once or twice. Wherever I went, there would often be a big crowd. Sometimes people liked my way of teaching the Bible, and sometimes they hated it and wanted to cause trouble. You see, in those days, the church was mainly run by the well-to-do folk. They had the idea that you had to go to church to learn about the Bible, and just ordinary folk weren't always made welcome in a church. So I decided to take the Bible to them. In 1751, I decided to travel north of the border to Scotland on one of my 22 trips up there. One of my first visits was just down the road here to Musselburgh. I went to most of the big cities, including Edinburgh, which back then was dirty and smelly, probably the worst city in Scotland. In each town, decent crowds came to hear me. 1757, I visited a lovely coastal town south of Edinburgh. It was here, Dunbar. A local farmer, Mr. Affleck, and his wife let me stay there, and I decided to take the opportunity to preach somewhere on the main street. As I stood and began to speak the words of God, I looked out, hoping for a big crowd. I looked up from my Bible, and to my disappointment, only 4 people had stopped to listen. Nevertheless, I stuck with it, and the local children of this lovely town saved the day. As I continued to read from the Bible, I noticed some small figures staring at me. It was children, then another one, and another. I don't know what it was about me. Perhaps my English accent, who knows? But before long, a big crowd of them had gathered, and then the adults joined. It was a marvellous day. I've travelled many miles and to many places, but there is one thing I can say about the people of Dunbar. They're the most cheerful in the whole kingdom. I really wanted to see a Methodist church built here. Work was done to build it. In 1764, it opened its doors for the first time. It is much bigger than when I last visited. It used to be tiny, just that bit on the end. You can see that it was added to, which tells me there were plenty of people wanting to go to it. And today, this is the oldest surviving Methodist church in Scotland. Unfortunately, this building ceased to be used for worship and was sold in 2019. And the Methodist people joined up with the great people of St Anne's Church. They meet together now, and this place is being renovated and being used for something new. So here we are at St Anne's, and this is where I will leave you. Apparently they've got a statue of me inside, and when things get back to normal, the doors are open every day, so you can just wander in and have a look.